The night was quiet. Cities slept under the soft glow of streetlights, and stars shone like tiny diamonds scattered across the black sky. People were home, scrolling on their devices, unaware that this calm would not last. Suddenly, a bright streak crossed the sky, faster than any shooting star. It was not a meteor. It was something bigger, something impossible. In moments, the news broke worldwide. Massive objects enter Earth orbit unidentified. Panic spread like wildfire. From New York to Tokyo, people ran to their windows, staring in disbelief. Above, shapes moved with perfect precision. They were not like anything humans had ever built. Ships huge and silent, floated in space, their surfaces smooth and reflective, catching the light of Earth. Inside the largest ship, the air shimmered with a strange energy. Tall beings moved gracefully, their skin glinting like metal under the dim lights. They spoke in a language humans could not understand, but a voice translator made their words clear. Their voices were deep, echoing, and commanding. The words sent chills down the spines of the scientists monitoring from Earth. Humans must send tribute, the translator said. Fail, and your planet will be destroyed. Governments scrambled. Military generals called urgent meetings. Scientists tried to study the ships, but they seemed beyond any human technology. Nothing on Earth could match them. Every plan, every strategy, felt small against the massive power of the Galactic Council. In London, inside a research center, Dr. Amelia Hart, a linguist and historian, watched the feed with wide eyes. They're not just demanding gifts, she whispered. They want to test us. They want to see what humans are worth. Across the world, people reacted differently. Some prayed, some panicked, some watched in awe. Children pointed at the sky, asking their parents if it was the end. But others quietly felt a spark of hope, of challenge. News reporters tried to explain. The Galactic Council, they said, is the ruling body of the stars. They control hundreds of worlds, species, and civilizations. They have never failed to get their tribute. And now they are demanding something from humans. In the United Nations headquarters, world leaders gathered. Faces were tense. They argued over what tribute could possibly satisfy beings who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Rare minerals? Advanced weapons? Cultural knowledge? Nothing seemed enough. Every suggestion was met with silence, as if the council could sense doubt and fear. Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of the world, Dr. Hart had an idea. She called a secret meeting with a small team of experts, scientists, linguists, and engineers. The room was tense, but curiosity burned in her eyes. Amelia spoke with a steady voice. We can't match their power, but maybe we can show them something they have never seen. What do you mean? Asked one engineer nervously. We can answer them, not with gifts, not with gold or technology, but with something they cannot predict. Amelia paused, her eyes glowing with determination. We can respond with one word. The room went silent. One word could be enough to impress or confuse a species that had ruled countless worlds. Outside, the ships hovered, their lights scanning the cities below. People could feel their gaze, even through the distance of space. Every device, every camera, every radar showed the same thing. Humans were being watched. Every heartbeat of the planet seemed to echo in the minds of Council. Hours passed. The Council spoke again, their message clear and terrifying. You have 72 hours. Send your tribute. Fail and Earth will be erased. Nations prepared. Soldiers armed themselves. Scientists worked through the night, trying to find weaknesses in the ships. Engineers calculated trajectories, hoping to understand even a fragment of alien technology. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. No human invention could harm these ships. The Council's power was absolute, yet as fear spread, so did a quiet defiance. On street corners, people whispered stories of human courage. Soldiers remembered old battles where humans had been outnumbered and outgunned, but still survived. Scientists thought of discoveries that had changed the world against all odds. Children dreamed of adventures beyond Earth. And in that quiet hope, Dr. Hart saw the path. A single word could carry all of it. courage, defiance, and humanity itself. A word that might be small in sound, but enormous in meaning. The first part of the plan was simple. Observe, prepare, and decide. The council waited. The world held its breath. And somewhere in the silence of a war room, Amelia whispered again, "We will show them who we are in one word." The ships pulsed with light above, and the countdown began. 72 hours to face the most powerful beings in the galaxy. 72 hours to define humanity itself. The world held its breath. Every screen, every news channel, every social media feed was filled with images of the massive ships hovering silently above. Their shadows stretched over cities. Their presence felt like a storm waiting to break. The Galactic Council demanded tribute, and humans had 72 hours to comply. 72 hours to decide the fate of the planet. Inside the United Nations headquarters, leaders from every nation gathered in an emergency session. The air was thick with tension. Generals whispered strategies. Scientists shared theories. Politicians argued loudly, each claiming they had the solution. But deep down, all of them knew the truth. No gold, no weapons, no piece of technology could match the power of the Council. Amelia Hart, the linguist, stood quietly at the side of the room. She had watched the world panic for hours, studied the Council's behavior, and thought deeply. Her eyes were calm but focused. She knew that the answer was not in what humans could give, but in what they could show. One of the generals scoffed. "We can offer them our best technology. Our satellites, our energy weapons. Surely that will satisfy them." Amelia shook her head. "They have seen thousands of civilizations. They have power beyond imagination. Weapons, technology, they will not impress them." A young engineer spoke up nervously. "Then what can we do?" "We have 72 hours. The planet is watching. The world expects an answer." Amelia turned to him. "We can give them something they cannot take with their power. Something no other civilization has ever shown. Something human." The room fell silent. People looked at her, confused. "Human?" One diplomat asked. "What do you mean?" She smiled slightly. "Courage, spirit, defiance. We will answer them with one word." For a moment, the room erupted in laughter. Laughter mixed with disbelief. One ambassador even muttered, "You want to face the Galactic Council with a word? Do you know who you are speaking to?" Amelia's eyes burned with determination. "I do. That is exactly why a word is enough. We will show them that humans are not just resources or technology. We are a species with courage, unity, and spirit. We are more than material. And for that, we do not need anything else." The laughter died down. Leaders began to listen. Some were still skeptical, but others felt the spark of hope. The Council had never faced resistance before. No planet had ever dared defy them, even in words. Perhaps this one word could change everything. Across the world, people watched as Earth prepared its answer. Military forces continued to patrol, scientists scanned the ships, and media reported every minor update. But behind the scenes, Amelia's team worked quietly, testing languages, symbols, and meanings. They needed the word to carry weight in every culture, every tongue. Hours passed. The Council ships pulsed with light, almost impatient. The translator's voice echoed across the globe. "Time runs short. Send your tribute or face destruction." On the streets, fear and hope collided. Some people panicked, locking their doors and praying. Others stared at the sky with clenched fists, feeling a strange pride. Humanity had faced impossible odds before. Against all logic, they would stand tall again. Back in the UN room, Amelia proposed a vote. We must choose our word. It must define us. It must show them that humans cannot be easily controlled. We cannot be conquered with fear. The room debated. Power? Strength? Unity? Courage? Voices overlapped. The debate was fierce, passionate, and human. Every suggestion revealed the complexity of Earth's people. And finally, after hours of discussion, Amelia spoke. The word is simple. It is clear. It is us. It is... She paused, looking around the room. Defiance. A hush fell over the room. Defiance. A single word. Bold, brave, dangerous, perfect, Outside, the council watched, sensing tension, curiosity, and something unusual, confidence. Never before had a civilization dared to respond in such a way. Never before had any world shown spirit instead of submission. The world waited, holding its breath. Every human heart beat faster. The message would be sent in hours. And with it, Earth would face the greatest question it had ever known. Could a single word change the mind of the most powerful beings in the galaxy? The countdown continued. 48 hours remained, and with every second, the Council's lights pulsed brighter, as if testing the courage of the planet below. Amelia stared at the screens, calm but resolute. "We will show them," she whispered. "We will show them who we are." Outside, the ships hovered silently. Humanity had chosen its response. The Council waited, and the galaxy watched. The world was alive with tension. Every city, every town, every village felt it. The massive ships hovered above, their silent presence casting shadows that stretched across continents. Humans had chosen their word, Defiance. But now came the hardest part, preparing for the unknown. Inside the United Nations headquarters, Amelia Hart and her small team worked tirelessly. Computers hummed, lights blinked, and screens showed the alien ships in orbit. The team studied every detail. The ship's movement, the energy patterns, even their soundless pulses. They needed to understand the Council as much as they could, though it seemed impossible. Around the world, people watched nervously. Soldiers patrolled streets. Scientists gathered in labs. Engineers tested communication systems. Everyone waited, unsure what would happen next. Fear mixed with hope, and curiosity burned like fire in the hearts of humans everywhere. Amelia called a meeting with her team. "We cannot fight them with weapons," she said. "They are too powerful, but we can fight with our minds. Our courage, our unity." One young engineer frowned. "But how? What can we do to show them this unity?" Amelia smiled. "We prepare them for what they cannot expect. We show them that humans are not afraid to stand together. Our word is our shield." The team began planning. Scientists studied the Council's behavior from past transmissions. They learned that the Council valued courage, strategy, and cleverness. Any display of defiance would be noticed and remembered. Amelia realized this was a human's advantage. Other civilizations may have submitted quietly. Humans would not. In labs across the world, small teams practiced. Communication networks were tested to transmit the one-word response across every language and medium. Satellites were synchronized. News channels prepared to broadcast. Every device capable of transmitting a signal would carry the word Defiance at the same moment. At the same time, military forces prepared for the worst. Weapons could not harm the Council, but they could protect cities from collateral damage or rogue attacks. Soldiers trained tirelessly, standing ready, but their eyes carried something unusual: pride. They were not just waiting to survive, they were waiting to stand. Meanwhile, Amelia and her team faced another challenge: timing. The Council had already reduced the deadline to 24 hours. Every second mattered. Every small decision could be crucial. The team worked around the clock, sharing small meals, drinking coffee, and occasionally pausing to glance at the ships above. Outside, ordinary people also prepared in their own ways. Families gathered, holding hands, whispering encouragement. Children drew pictures of stars and spaceships, unaware of the real danger but full of imagination. Communities shared stories of human bravery, reminding themselves and each other of what it meant to be alive and free. As the hours ticked by, tension grew. The Council sent emissaries to the largest cities, their ships glowing, scanning. Humans could feel their presence, even without direct contact. It was as if the Council were testing them, waiting to see if fear would break their resolve. But humanity did not falter. Soldiers stood guard. Scientists worked furiously, and Amelia's team double-checked every detail. Every person on Earth who could help was contributing in some way. It was a planet united, every heart beating toward the same goal. Amelia often stood by the window, staring at the largest Council ship. Its hull shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting the city lights below. She whispered to herself, They have never faced Defiance. They have never faced us. She knew the Council had immense power, but she also knew something more important. Humans had something no technology could replicate. Courage. And courage, when shared by millions, was unstoppable. The countdown continued. 12 hours left. Every moment brought the world closer to either catastrophe or glory. The alien ships hovered, their energy pulsing, almost as if they could sense the determination of the planet below. Amelia turned to her team one last time. When the time comes, remember this. Our word is more than a signal. It is our voice. It is every human who has ever dared to stand against the impossible. When we speak it, they will know who we are. Outside, the sky was quiet again. The ships glowed faintly, waiting. Humanity held its breath, united in preparation. And somewhere deep in the shadow of those enormous ships, the Galactic Council waited too, unaware that the one word it was about to receive would shake its ancient certainty. The hours slipped by like seconds. Earth held its breath as the massive ships floated silently above. Every city, every town, every continent felt the same tension. Humans had prepared. Every satellite, every broadcast station, every computer system was ready. Yet, the Council's power was overwhelming, and fear still lingered like a shadow over the planet. Inside the UN headquarters, Amelia Hart stood before the global communication team. The room buzzed with energy and nervous whispers. Screens displayed the Council's ships, still unmoving but glowing with an intensity that seemed almost alive. 8 hours left, Amelia said, her voice steady. Everything must be ready. Every system, every line of transmission, every language. The word, it must reach them all at once. Engineers nodded, their eyes glued to monitors. Satellites were synchronized, signals tested, and backups were prepared in case the Council tried to block communication. It was the largest coordinated effort in human history, and every participant knew the weight of the moment. Outside, ordinary humans carried on with their preparations in their own ways. Some gathered in public squares, holding hands, chanting softly, encouraging one another. Children were drawn to the sight of the glowing ships above, their fear mixed with wonder. People shared stories of courage, of humans facing impossible odds, of heroes who refused to surrender. The Council, observing silently from their ships, sensed something unusual. Never before had a civilization shown such coordinated effort, such unity, without a trace of submission. The aliens conferred among themselves, their translators converting the conversation into human understandable words. They prepare, yet they do not fear. Why? In labs across the world, scientists tried to decode the Council's behavior. Some believed the aliens were puzzled. Others feared that curiosity could quickly turn into anger. But Amelia knew that the Council's uncertainty was humanity's advantage. With 6 hours remaining, the Council's emissaries moved closer to Earth's surface, sending glowing probes over major cities. Their light swept over streets, scanning, testing, intimidating. Panic flared briefly in some areas, but humanity's courage remained unbroken. Soldiers stood firm. Citizens kept calm, and Amelia's team worked tirelessly to ensure the one-word response would be transmitted flawlessly. The countdown ticked closer to 0. Every second brought tension, hope, and fear intertwined. World leaders tried to maintain calm on live broadcasts, reminding people to stay safe, to stay together. But the excitement and anxiety were palpable. Amelia reviewed the final preparations with her team. When the signal goes out, it must be clear. Every language, every culture. The Council must hear the word exactly as we intend it. One word, one message of humanity. A young technician spoke nervously. Do you really think one word is enough? One word against the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Amelia smiled. It is not just a word. It is every human who has ever dared to stand against the impossible. That is our power. That is what they cannot destroy. In cities worldwide, people stopped to watch the sky. The ships hovered, their immense forms reflecting sunlight even from orbit. The Council's energy pulses intensified, almost as if they could feel the growing determination below. 3 hours left. Systems were checked again. Satellites aligned perfectly. Communication lines buzzed with electricity and signals. ready to send the word that would define humanity. Amelia's heart pounded, but she remained composed. The council could feel the defiance radiating from below, and she knew the moment of truth was near. 1 hour. The world seemed to pause. Streets were silent. Families stayed close together, holding hands. Scientists, soldiers, and engineers waited for the signal. The council watched, their ancient confidence wavering slightly. They had seen worlds submit. They had never faced humans. 30 minutes. Amelia stood before the main control panel. Her team was ready. Everyone knew their role. The world watched silently. The tension was unbearable. The council sent one last warning through translators. Prepare. Submit or be erased. Amelia took a deep breath. We will show them who we are, not as slaves, not as subjects, as humans, united, brave, free. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute, and in that final silence, every heartbeat on earth seemed to echo in the void above. The countdown was nearly complete. Humanity's courage, its unity, and its defiance would soon reach the council. And in that moment, the galaxy would witness something it had never seen before. The world was silent. Every human heart seemed to beat in unison. Every eye was fixed on the glowing ships above. Amelia Hart stood at the control panel, her finger hovering over the final activation button. The moment of truth had arrived. Humanity would speak. Humanity would show its spirit. Are we ready? She asked, her voice calm but firm. Her team nodded. Satellites were aligned, communication lines secured, and every broadcast system synchronized. Every language, every culture, every corner of the globe would transmit the same message at the same moment. Then let's send it, Amelia whispered. She pressed the button. Instantly, a wave of energy pulsed outward from Earth. Satellites carried the signal across the globe. Radios, TVs, and digital devices amplified it. In every language, across every medium, the same word resonated throughout the galaxy. Defiance. The council ships pulsed in response, as if struck by lightning. The translators struggled to convey the shock, the incredulity, the surprise in their voices. They speak a single word, one of the council members said. A word of resistance? Amelia's team watched in awe as the alien vessels quivered slightly, energy shimmering along their hulls. The council, used to complete obedience, had never experienced this. No civilization had ever responded with courage, with spirit, with defiance. On Earth, people held their breath, waiting. The streets were quiet, cities almost hushed. Soldiers lowered their weapons slightly, sensing something incredible unfolding. Scientists and engineers exchanged amazed glances. The council's reaction would determine the fate of every human on the planet. Inside the largest ship, the council debated fiercely. Voices clashed, loud and echoing, translated through Amelia's monitors. Impossible. They dare to resist with nothing but a word. No civilization has ever dared defy us. They are naive, yet powerful. Their courage, it is unlike anything we have seen. For the first time in thousands of years, the council hesitated. Their ships glowed brighter, energy pulsing, but no attack came. They were observing, analyzing, unsure how to respond. Humanity had done something no other species had done. They had challenged the absolute authority of the council, and they had survived. Across Earth, cheers began to rise quietly at first, then louder. Families hugged. Soldiers smiled. Children waved at the sky, sensing the power of what had just happened. Humanity had not submitted. Humanity had shown its spirit. Amelia allowed herself a small smile. She had not known if it would work, but she had believed in her people. In every corner of the world, humans had acted with courage, unity, and intelligence. And now, the council would have to reckon with something it had never faced before, the will of a defiant species. The council continued to debate, their ancient voices rising and falling. One member said slowly, almost reverently, "Perhaps this species is different. Perhaps we have underestimated them." The humans waited, holding their breath. For the first time, the galaxy had been reminded that power alone could not command respect. Spirit, courage, and defiance mattered. And Earth had just spoken, loud and clear, with a single undeniable word. The moment of silence stretched, heavy with anticipation. The Council's ships hovered, their glow gradually softening. Humanity had survived. Humanity had impressed. And somewhere deep inside the Council, a realization began to form. Humans were not just another civilization. They were something extraordinary. Amelia looked at the world outside the window. Cities glimmered under the fading glow of the Council's energy. People cheered, hugged, and cried quietly. Humanity had faced the impossible and had answered with courage, with unity, and with one word: defiance. The first act of true human resistance had been made, and the galaxy would never forget it. The sky above Earth was still. The massive ships hovered silently, their energy pulses calmer than before. Humanity had spoken. Defiance. One word, yet it echoed across the galaxy louder than any weapon, louder than any fleet. Inside the Council's largest ship, the alien leaders were in turmoil. Their debates were heated, voices rising and falling. Translating roughly into human language through the monitors, Amelia watched. They are bold, reckless, extraordinary. No civilization has ever dared this, yet their courage commands attention. Do we destroy them, or do we watch? For the first time in millennia, the Council did not have a clear answer. They had never faced a species that refused to bow without a fight. Not with weapons, not with fear, but with spirit. They sensed something new in humans, a resilience and unity that no amount of power could break. On Earth, the atmosphere was electric. People stepped into the streets cautiously, looking up at the massive ships above. For hours, no attacks came. Cities were safe. Military leaders relaxed slightly, though their eyes never left the skies. Scientists and engineers studied every signal, every pulse from the alien vessels. The Council had not attacked. That was unprecedented. Amelia stood among her team, watching the communications panels flicker with incoming messages from the Council. The aliens were confused, curious, and perhaps even impressed. They had not expected resistance. They had certainly not expected a single word to hold so much power. Meanwhile, across the globe, stories of courage began to spread. Social media lit up with reports from people who had faced fear and refused to panic. Soldiers shared moments of bravery. Families celebrated the unity that had kept them calm. And in every corner of the planet, a quiet pride grew. Humans had survived a test no one thought they could. Yet, the threat had not disappeared. The Council remained in orbit, their ships massive and unyielding. Humanity could not relax completely. They had defied the most powerful beings in the galaxy, but defiance carried risks. Amelia knew this. The moment had been powerful, but the outcome was not yet final. Hours passed. The Council continued to observe. Their emissaries hovered over major cities, scanning, probing, and testing. Still, no attack came. Humans held their ground, and in doing so, sent another message. Fear would not define them. Unity and courage would. As night fell, Amelia looked out over the city skyline. Lights reflected off windows. Streets were alive with people talking, hugging, and celebrating quietly. The Council's ships glimmered above, their presence imposing but less threatening than before. Humanity had faced the impossible, and they had shown the galaxy what it meant to be human. Inside the Council chambers, a debate raged. Some aliens argued for destruction, claiming that defiance could not be tolerated. Others argued for observation, suggesting that humans might possess qualities worthy of respect. The word defiance had unsettled them, challenged them, and forced them to reconsider centuries of assumptions. For the first time, the Council was unsure of its authority. It had power, yes, but authority without respect was fragile. And humans had shown that respect could not be demanded. It had to be earned. Amelia's team watched the Council's movements carefully. The world had survived the first confrontation, but the story was far from over. The word had been spoken, the courage displayed, and now humanity waited to see how the galaxy's oldest power would respond. For the first time, people felt something new. Hope, fear had not ruled them. The impossible had been faced. And somewhere deep within the hearts of billions, humans knew one thing for certain. They had made the galaxy take notice. The countdown of fear had ended, But the countdown of opportunity was beginning. Humanity had spoken with one word, and now the universe had begun to listen. The silence in the sky was heavy. The Council's massive ships hovered above Earth, their glow reflecting off oceans and cities below. Humanity had spoken one word, Defiance, and now waited. Every heartbeat on the planet seemed synchronized. Every eye turned skyward. Inside the council chambers, alien leaders continued to debate. Their voices were sharp, commanding, but tinged with something they had never experienced. Doubt. Some called for destruction, arguing that no defiance could be tolerated. Others, however, argued for observation and respect. Humans were unlike any species they had encountered. Brave, united, and clever, they had survived a threat the Council had assumed would end them. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the Council spoke. Their words were transmitted across all human communication systems through the translators. Humans, your defiance is noted. Your courage, your unity, and your spirit are unlike anything we have seen. You have faced the impossible and refused to bow. You are worthy. The words echoed around the world. Cities erupted in celebration. Families hugged. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Scientists and engineers exchanged astonished smiles. Humanity had not only survived, the Council had acknowledged their strength. Amelia Hart allowed herself a small smile. The one word, defiance, had carried the weight of billions of hearts, and now it had changed history. Humanity had not been conquered. Humanity had been respected. The Council continued. Earth will remain free. You will no longer be considered a tributary world. You are to be observed and guided, yes, but not ruled. Your courage has earned you a place among the galaxy's civilizations. Grow, learn, and prosper. For the first time, humans were being recognized as equals by beings who had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Respect, not fear. Recognition, not submission. Humanity had faced the ultimate test and passed with honor. Across the globe, people celebrated quietly at first, then with growing joy. Streets filled with laughter and cheers. Children waved at the sky. Soldiers saluted. Scientists and teachers hugged. Humanity had survived, and more than that, they had triumphed. Amelia looked at the ships above, their massive forms now glowing softly, almost like a nod of approval. The Council would remain in orbit, observing humanity. But for the first time, humans were no longer just subjects. They were acknowledged as a species capable of courage, defiance, and greatness. In the days that followed, Earth's people reflected on what had happened. They had faced beings who could destroy them in moments, yet they had shown bravery, intelligence, and unity. They had reminded the galaxy that humanity could not be underestimated. And somewhere far beyond the solar system, the Council recorded a single, remarkable fact. Humanity was not just another species. They were extraordinary. The sky remained calm, the ships eventually moving away to orbit more distant worlds. Humanity looked to the stars with a new sense of purpose. They had been tested, they had been defiant, and they had earned their place in the galaxy. Amelia Hart stood on a balcony, watching children play under the stars. She whispered quietly, almost to herself, "We are human, we are united, we are brave, and we will always be defiant." The galaxy had witnessed it. Humanity had survived, thrived, and inspired. One word had changed everything. One word had shown the universe what it truly meant to be human. Weeks had passed since the Council acknowledged humanity. The massive ships still orbited the planet occasionally, but no threat remained. Earth was safe, respected, and now part of a galaxy that had once seemed untouchable. Humanity had changed. Governments worked together more efficiently, sharing resources and knowledge. Scientists collaborated across continents, inspired by the realization that humans were capable of greatness on a universal scale. Technology advanced faster, not just to survive, but to explore. Amelia Hart walked through a city park, watching children play. The Council's words echoed in her mind. Grow, learn, and prosper. Humanity had been tested, had survived, and had proven itself. But she knew this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, full of challenges, wonders, and dangers. In secret, small teams of scientists began planning missions to nearby star systems. Satellites were being upgraded, research ships designed. Humanity would no longer just watch the stars. They would reach them. The message of Defiance had given humans confidence. They were not weak. They were powerful in ways the Council had not fully anticipated. Meanwhile, on the Council ships, alien leaders continued to discuss humanity. They recorded data, analyzed human behavior, and debated. This species is remarkable. One said, they are unpredictable, courageous, resourceful. Perhaps one day they will rival us. Back on Earth, ordinary people felt the change too. Communities worked together with more empathy. Students studied space sciences and languages, inspired by the knowledge that humans were now part of a larger cosmic society. The word Defiance became a symbol of pride, courage, and identity. Amelia stood on a hill at dusk, looking at the sky. A streak of light passed. A Council probe returned to orbit, and she smiled. Humanity had survived. Humanity had grown. Humanity had become more than a planet. It had become a presence in the galaxy. And somewhere, deep in space, other civilizations were beginning to hear the story of Earth, of a species that faced annihilation, that refused to bow, and that spoke one word, defiance. The galaxy had been reminded that courage could not be measured by size, technology, or power. It was measured by spirit. And humanity, in a single word, had shown that it was limitless. The new dawn had arrived, and with it, a future full of adventure, challenge, and infinite possibility. Humanity would no longer wait for the galaxy. They would go forth, defiant, united, and unstoppable.